Hello everyone, welcome back to Debugging Technologies. This is the bot series on Microsoft 365 Agents SDK, and today we are picking up our first use case, a notification bot. Well, we have already covered this particular use case in our previous version of Bot Framework SDK in our videos, so we are going to try with a new SDK. So let's get started. And by the way, this will be really quick and easy implementation of a notification bot. All right. So first you come to Visual Studio, you create a new project and you choose the template Microsoft 365 agents. Go next. I'll give this name as notification bot. Let's give it as notification agent. Since we are using latest agent SDK, so all our names will be based on agent. All right, let's click on create, and here you have so many templates to choose from, and we already have a notification. So let's see, it will be somewhere chat notification message. This is the one. And by the way, this will be created for Microsoft Teams bot. Okay, and you have a couple of options. Either you can build it as an API, ASP.NET Core Web API, or you build it as a HTTP trigger, which is an Azure function. Next, you can build it as a timer trigger. So on a fixed time, it will get executed. And next, you can have both of the options, HTTP or timer trigger. Well, if you are used to on the ASP.NET Core Web API structure, then you can perfectly go with this, because this was the template that we have been using in our last SDK as well, bot framework SDK, and it still goes valid. But today we are gonna try something new in Azure functions, that will be HTTP plus timer trigger. Okay, let's try this one, and it's .NET 9. Well, there are a couple of issues as well in Azure function I have seen, because if you create a project directly from here without doing anything, without doing any changes, and if you run this project, then there are some JSON serialization issues that come up with this one. Anyway, we'll solve those issues. I'll go with this one and create. And there are a couple of various inbuilt functionality that you'll love it, which will only be possible using Graph APIs, or if you save some data in persistent storage. Okay, so for Teams related agents, you will always have to work with tunnels. If you don't enable the tunnel, you'll not able to run your solution in Microsoft Teams during your local development. Okay, I'll just close this. Okay, so this particular project, we have already seen Microsoft 365 agents. It contains the app packages. Basically, these are the templates of the manifest zip file. So if you just run it directly, right, so it will create a new local manifest along with these logos, so that you can upload it in your Microsoft Teams manually. Otherwise, if you um, basically it has that capability of directly running it on the browser, so that is also an option. Next, env file. This will contain, or this will get filled out once you run the solution for your local environment. This infrastructure, this all contains your bot registration and how it connects to your dev tunnel URL. You don't have to worry about that. This is all been taken care of. Okay, now here comes the main logic. First, we're gonna fix the dependency issues. I told you that about the error, right? So if you run as is, it had some couple of issues. First of all, I'm going to upgrade it, all the packages. Secondly, there is one specific package. Let me just have a look. If I just click on this function app right here, Microsoft Agents Authentication MACL and hosting ASP.NET Core. These two packages are wildcard, means that it supports any version 1, which in this case will gonna fail. Okay, but I'll just run as is, and then we're gonna fix these errors, and I'm gonna show you what exactly is the error. But before that, before running this, first let me increase the size to 125%. So before running this, let's understand the project structure. Okay, this is the typical Azure function. It has models, resources, and the rest of the files. The starting point is program.cs file. Okay, here it's just all the typical dependency injections that you have, and let's go through only the main field things. App settings.json. This is where your configuration comes into picture. For development, nothing is there. Okay, here this is only for logging and agent application options. So these are some of the configuration. Let's say I don't want that because it's a notification bot, and this is a template. Let's suppose you deploy this chatbot, right? So you need to provide your client ID here. This is your Azure bot client ID, and depending on your auth type, whether it is a user managed identity or if it is a single tenant bot, depending on that, you're going to provide these values. Well, these two will always be fixed irrespective of user assigned managed identity. If it is a single tenant, then you will need to provide client secret as well here, client secret. Okay, and yeah, this is all exactly same configuration that you have, that you had seen in our previous videos in those other two samples. Okay, coming back to program.cs, so it just adds this configuration, adding environment variables, and yeah, this is the important bit. Currently, the storage is an in memory, okay, for some of the scenarios, but for managing the timers, right? So you have a timer trigger for the function. It stores the state inside a Azure storage. Okay, but at this point of time, we will not connect it to cloud Azure storage. Instead, we'll be connecting it to a storage emulator. If you already have this application, Azure Storage Explorer, so basically this is the one. So it's a desktop application that you can install, and you can also run a storage emulator as well. Here you can see the screenshot. It's too small, but yeah, it also have a emulator storage that is given to you, but before that you need to run Azurite apart from this. So this is a separate that you need to run. These two you need to install. One is Azure Storage Explorer to see what data you have inside your emulator storage, and secondly, Azurite is kind of a emulator for your local storage development. Basically, it's a local server that will be running. Then only you can interact with your local Azure storage. Okay, and this is all been figured out here. If you go to local settings.json here you can see Azure Web Job Storage, use development storage true. Because of this, It takes in your emulator storage and utilizes that automatically. You don't have to do it. You just need to run it. That's the only thing. Okay. In our old Azure functions, Azurite was automatically initialized or started when you run the project. That's part of Visual Studio latest version functionality. But I have noticed that in the this particular template, it does not get auto start. So you'll have to manually start your Azurite in order to interact with your local Azure storage. Okay. Coming back here, it's best practice to include a persistent storage for your production environment. Best will be Azure storage. Okay. Next, create a conversation with notification features enabled. Okay. Notifications, bot app ID. This is just all agent. This is the core logic which is present here. Whenever users join the conversation, this will be the message, or this will be method will be invoked. Here you can see this. We have already seen this condition if the member.id is not equal to the recipient id. So we don't want to show a welcome message when bot joins the conversation. We only want to show a welcome message when user joins the conversation. If you want to learn more about these methods, I would highly recommend you go and watch our previous two videos where we have discussed Echo bot as well as weather agent. Okay, so this is the exact same structure from those code that we have explained in the last. So since this is a notification bot, any user input will not be considered unless you want to override that functionality and you want to handle the user input as well. So you just have to do it here on activity, and the type is here, and we are going to create this particular method here. If at all you want to include the functionality of handling the user messages. Currently, it's a notification only bot. It has only one task to send messages to the user in a proactive basis. Okay, so it does not have to be triggered by the user. It can be get triggered by any event, any webhook event, any API call, any timer trigger. I'll give you a few of the use case that you can use it for, right? Let's suppose you want to summarize your day, either using Outlook events or emails that you want to summarize. You can run this on a timer trigger, like daily 8 a.m. in the morning. You'll receive a message in your Microsoft Teams summarizing your whole day events that you would like to uh, keep in mind, because most of us forget that or most of us forget replying to emails or just going through a large number of emails. So you can utilize the LLM capabilities to summarize those and send it back to the user. That's one use case you can think of. Or you can also implement this into your existing full-fledged agent chatbot for your Microsoft Teams. So you can include the on message activity so that you can handle the message related events as well, and also you can handle the events proactively sent by the bot to the user. Let's suppose user is trying to provision something inside a chatbot. Let's say okay, agent provision me this virtual machine. Okay, virtual machine provisioning takes time, right? At least 5-10 minutes. So agent will respond, okay, I have started provisioning. You'll receive a message once I'm done provisioning your virtual machine. That time, we can initiate a webhook event which will get triggered and your notification bot will send a proactive message back to the user that your virtual machine has been provisioned. That's another use case. There are many use cases that you can think of. This is a proactive notification. Okay. Now, so let's get rid of this for now. No, I don't want to get rid of this. Instead, I'll comment this out. Okay. Now, since TeamSpot, we only have main functionality on members added. That's all, nothing else. Now, coming back to the functions that this particular project has, we have two functions: notify HTTP trigger, notify timer trigger. Let's see the timer trigger first. So this is the cron expression. It tells me that 30 seconds this will get executed, and this will get a adaptive card, which is here somewhere. Here, notification default. This is an adaptive card template. This data will be dynamically inserted during the runtime. So this is a template JSON. So this is a adaptive card that will be sent every 30 seconds to the user. Here what it is doing, it is getting the path of that adaptive card, which is this JSON, which is under resources folder and notification default. This is going to read that JSON. Basically, that's a template JSON. Next, it is going to get the installation details, where exactly this bot has been installed. It gets all these installation details. Next, for each installation, this is going to pass the data to that template JSON. This is the data that will be passed in real time, and then it is going to be sent to the user. Okay, that's all. The good part about this particular method is this one: conversation, notification, get page to installation. This was only possible previously using Graph APIs. Or you would have done a custom implementation. Whenever a bot was installed by the user, you had received an installation update activity. Let me show you how it was done previously. This one. So this particular activity will be invoked every time user installs the bot. Well, you can also override this functionality, right? This will have the basic functionality where exactly your bot is installed, but it will not contain a lot of details. But it is sufficient details to send a message. If you want a lot of details like their email address, which is not part of this particular method, then you can create this particular event or activity installation update and override the functionality in a new method. What exactly you want to achieve when user installs the bot. You can do some custom things along the way. Okay. Now this has been replaced, basically not replaced, just a better functionality. This is all part of now the framework itself. Here you can see conversation a bot. It's part of this Microsoft Teams FX conversation library. Okay, that's the power. Previously this functionality was only available in Graph APIs. Now it's all inbuilt. Okay, this is pretty straightforward and cool. Now coming to the HTTP trigger. This also has the same thing, exact same thing. Only thing, it's a post request and it's an anonymous function. Anybody can call it. Next, this is the route that will be used to call this function. And it does the same thing. Reads that adaptive card template, get the paged installation, and just executes it. That's all. And finally, it would return back a okay result that okay, I have sent a message to the user. Perfect. Okay, this is a notification default model. Basically, it's a data model for your adaptive card template. All right, so it's time to run this one. Before that, it's not going to work. I'll show you the error message as well. Since we are building it this for Microsoft Teams, so here in the deploy, right, it would throw me an error because I haven't initialized a bot tunnel, and it is going to throw me an error that bot endpoint is not found, which is all part of here in this. If you want to learn more, right here, if I search bot endpoint, current document, yeah, there we have the error bot. It's I think underscore endpoint. Yeah, this is the one. If you not initialize the tunnel, it will never fulfill this step. Okay, I'll show you the error here in the output window. Fail to execute here because there was fail to execute lifecycle provision because there are unresolved placeholders bot endpoint for action. Okay, it did create a app registration behind the scene in your tenant, but before that, before anything else, you'll need to select the Microsoft 365 account that you want this bot to create an app registration in. If you are, if your organization has not given you sufficient permission to create an app registration, so you can also sign up to a Microsoft 365 developer program, and then you can choose that to register this for your local development. Okay, this is the important step. I already did so, but it's not able to get the bot endpoint initialized. What we'll have to do, come here in start, there's a drop down, go to dev tunnels. I'll show you how to create a new dev tunnel. Here you just give a name, notification agent. Make it persistent if you want to use this again and again, the same URL, and make sure it is public. Okay, so that your basically what it is going to do, if you have heard about ngrok, right, ngrok, it just exposes your local server to the open internet. It's a tunneling software. This is exactly same, but from Microsoft they have introduced right in the Visual Studio. And the good part about it, let's suppose if you're building a web application, then you can make it private as well or organizational as well, so that it requires a login before another user or another team member can access that application. That's the power. But for bots, you need to make it public. Okay, let's create it. Once you create it, it's automatically selected. You can also verify here dev tunnels notification agent. Okay, you don't have to worry about the URL unless you want to see it yourself. You can see it here. Go to view and toolbars, dev tunnel here. It will open that toolbar dev tunnels here at the bottom. And here you can see this is the one that got selected, notification agent. Currently it's stopped because we haven't started the application yet. Once we start the application, it is going to figure out what port number your application is running on. Then it is going to map your port number and expose it on the open internet by giving you public URL. So let's run this again. Okay, here's the latest steps. Bot registration not found because it's going to create a new one. But again, if it has configured everything in your .env file, right? So it would not create a new bot registration. Instead, it's gonna update it existing one. This is the one. It automatically comes here and you just open it. That's all. If at all this particular window doesn't show up, then what you can do, you come here under app package. This is a build package that got just created, and you just upload this one in Microsoft Teams manually. I'll show you how you can do it. It's installing. And by the way, here you can see all these errors. This error is specifically because Azurite has not been running, but it's not automatically started. That is the reason we have this error. Here you can see custom retry, no connection could be made because target machine actively refused it. It's again every 30 seconds it's giving this error because Azurite is not running. Azurite usually runs here on your local host and 10,000 port number. Okay, so our agent is ready. Click on open. It will send me a welcome message, I guess. It should send me. Okay, I think it needs a Azurite. That's the only thing. Okay, so now one thing first. If that pop-up window doesn't show up, what you can do, you can go to apps, manage your apps, and upload an app. This is also a place where you can upload your custom app. You can open it and choose that package. Okay, that's one thing. And now let's fix the Azurite issue. You go to your file explorer. If you have latest version of Visual Studio, right? So Azurite is inbuilt. You just go to C drive. I think it's program files. Next is Microsoft. No, not Microsoft. It's Visual Studio. Yeah, Microsoft Visual Studio 2022. And depending on your version, right? Either it is preview, professional, enterprise. It all depends. Preview, then next is Common 7, IDE, and Microsoft. And where was the path? Yeah, I think extensions. Yeah, extensions, Microsoft, and here it will be storage emulator, Azurite. This is the path. Well, this is the path from Microsoft documentation itself. I'll show you how you can get it. Install and run Azurite. Here I got that path from here. These three. Depending on your version, since I'm using preview, right? So preview is not here, so I had to go manually. Usually in place of enterprise, I have preview in my scenario. That's why my path is different. Otherwise, here you can see the path. Either you have community, professional, or enterprise version. Okay, so I'm gonna open this in command line, this particular path. And next, I'll just run this azurite.exe. Okay, I'll need to copy the whole path. Let me go through the documentation again. Here it was mentioned in double quotes, azurite.exe. Yeah, it's correct only. Let me get a new terminal. azurite.exe, put a double quote around it. Perfect. Now it's working. Here you can see Azurite blob services starting, and yeah. Now let's restart this bot again. Here you can see it has started. I go to open. Okay, the problem here is I need to uninstall the bot first here. I'll just close this, manage your app, because since we haven't started Azurite previously, that's the reason it was not able to trigger that installation event. I'll just start again. Well, they'll need to improve the execution time because previously if we were not interacting with app registration, right? So it's updating each and every time. Maybe they need to optimize this behavior so that it only has to update if there is specific update inside the code. Now I'll install it again and I'll see it here. I'll click on open. There you have the welcome message. Okay, let's wait for 30 seconds and this will send me an adaptive card. There it is. New event occurred. So every 30 seconds, it's going to send me this message. Now, we will need to call our HTTP trigger. Let's see the structure, how we can call this one. HTTP trigger. Let's copy this and check what's the JSON request body it takes in. Okay, it doesn't take any request body. So we are good here. I'll go to Postman. I'll directly call this post request send. It's 200 okay. I'll cross check here. This one. This is a sample event notification occurred. I'll send it again. Will not be able to figure out, but yeah, it is sending me. Here, you can see one, right? I'll just send it again. There it is, one. So that means this notification has been triggered. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, this is all here. I'll just close this. Yeah. So, oh, one more thing we haven't tested. Let's quickly test that again. And by the way, I'll show you where exactly this is getting tracked in your storage emulator. If you have installed that storage explorer on your desktop, you just come here under storage accounts, emulator, blob containers, there it is. Timers, and here is the place where it keeps track of all the timers. This is again a JSON file and it contains the last trigger and what's the next trigger time. Okay, that's what it tracks. And here I think it's nothing extra. There's just diagnostic events. Okay, now I'll say hi. I don't think so I'll get any message because we have commented out that code. Oh, there are so many errors here. Why is that the case? Let's see. Help URL not provided. Ah, yeah, JSON serialization. Now is the error message coming. Perfect. So this error message that we were talking about at the start, JSON serialization. This error is specific to this one because we have added wildcard versions. So let's try to solve them. Manage NuGet. Agents MSAL. But I don't see those. Okay, there it is. You simply have to use latest stable version, that's all. And here as well, hosting, you simply have to use latest stable version. Perfect. Now if you go back and check here, it's now 1.2.41. Perfect. Let's start it again. Here you can see bot registration found. Maybe they'll have to improve the process so that it doesn't have to call the bot registration every time and just unnecessarily update it without any updates. And let's see if we have other errors coming up here. Perfect. Oh, we do have some more errors. I think we also need to update something somewhere. I did fixed it using ChatGPT earlier. Yeah, we still have this many errors. Okay, let me do one thing. Let me pass on the whole logs. Not whole, at least half of it. Because it's a repeated logs. Every 30 seconds it's coming. I'll use my GitHub Copilot in the agent mode. Let me close all tabs and let it figure out for me what's the issue. The best part about this one is, oh, field not found. Okay. Yeah, the best part about this one is it just goes through your whole project and then figures out what's the issue. So now it's listing down all my packages. Well, wrong command. It's gonna try again. But in Visual Studio, this Copilot agent is pretty slow as compared to VS Code. I can see the issue. There's a version mismatch between the Barrett, but the Maxo agent extension Teams is at 101. Really? Teams. Where's that package? 101. Okay. I did not know there was an upgrade available. Let's see what's the issue. I think it says that it has resolved it. Microsoft Agents Extension Teams. Okay. Oh, this was the package. I think it was not there earlier. Ah, okay. It's specifically adding those again. Wait a second. It just converted all of them to 1.2.41. Okay, I need to close this one so that the lock will be released. Perfect. This is important work. .NET Clean. So that it just clears out old compiled DLLs or libraries. Perfect. It says issue resolved. Let's run it. By the way, let me show you since we have run it right. env.local. Here you can see these are all the settings that it has. Okay. Open. First, let's quickly test it if this is going to work or not. Triggered. No issues till now. Perfect. Here it is. Oh, not there. Here. I'm gonna say hi. Nothing, right? Because we have not handled it. Message handlers process a request. So let's handle that. I'll go to message handler. Oh, okay. This already is there. Message handler. I did not know this about. Here you can see slash API. Ah, okay. This is the entry point, but we need to handle it here. But not there. Here. Uncomment this. Uncomment this. Save it. Let's say if it is auto reload is on. No. I need to close it and reopen it. This is a worst thing I don't like. This is a worst thing I don't like about this agents SDK, that every time it's going to check the app registration. Well, this is also the same behavior in Teams toolkit, which is the previous version of agents SDK. So agents SDK is nothing but it's a combination of your Teams toolkit functionality of .env and as well as your bot framework SDK advanced libraries. I think it can improve a lot. For example, checking whether application has been installed. So just use the existing one. Okay, so I'll just say hi. There it is. I'm a notification only bot and you can't interact with me. Follow the README in the project and stay tuned for notification. Hello, there it is. You can always handle those scenarios. Let's suppose you're making a mixed type of chatbot, right? Then this will be really helpful. You handle those, run some dialogues, anything you can do. Perfect. So now I was also showing you this one .env.local. This is a place where it keeps track of what app registration it has created, what's the endpoint. This is our dev tunnel URL that it has created. Okay, and yeah, that is all here. You can also provision multiple environments. Here, right click, Microsoft 365 Agents Toolkit, provision in the cloud. What it will do, it will deploy resources in your Azure subscription and connect it up all. Next, you can deploy this chatbot. So that is all here it is required. You can deploy the chatbot. Currently, it will deploy in your dev environment. You can also create multiple environment. So here somewhere, env, I don't see a place to create environment. Some update, add provision. In the previous version of Teams Toolkit, we had that option of creating multiple environments, but I don't see it here. Maybe we'll need to create manually. I'm not sure. All right, so I think that is all. And see you in the next video. Thanks, everyone.